Hello, everyone. Welcome to SLAPschool. I am Raul Fernandez. I am going to be your moderator for these webinars, and we're very excited about what we have in store for you this fall semester, and we're very glad that you were all able to join us. For today, we have a great panelist, Eduardo Placer, and he's going to be teaching us how to unlock our voice. Eduardo Placer is a keynote speaker, social entrepreneur, and global community builder. He is the CEO and founder of Fearless Communicators, a dynamic public coaching business. He is global facilitator that has led workshops with groups at Google, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, TopTal, HBO, and the Wharton School of Business. Private clients include CEOs of startup companies, UN diplomats, and social activists. He was a professional actor for 15 years, working all over the country in over 38 plays and musicals. This training and experience has led him to develop a physical and mental approach to hack the fear of public speaking. Eduardo also has an identical twin, and since an early age has been battling an acute condition called show-tune-itis, where he spontaneously breaks out into song. So get ready, guys. Without further delay, please give a fearless welcome to Eduardo Placer.
Hello there, everyone. My name is Eduardo Placer, and the condition is called show-tune-itis, the spontaneous eruption into show tunes. So thank you so much for that introduction, Raul. And I see that we have Aaron, Anastasia, Eileen, and Pat on our call today, and thrilled to be spending the next hour or so with you in this conversation of unlocking our voice. So there's I love that I just like naturally gravitated and magic. There it is. So just as an opportunity to get a little bit related to you, if you don't mind, just like in your in the chat space, just maybe telling me a little about what city you're in, perhaps what your job title is, what you're looking to get out of the workshop. That would be really useful for me, just so I can be present to that as I'm creating. So you can do that as I start sharing a little bit right now. So the idea of unlocking your voice, public speaking, the statistic is that 75% of people have speech anxiety. And I believe that 75% of people have speech anxiety, and then 24% lie. So it is definitely an epidemic. It is something that impacts everyone. I have done work all over the world, and it's a persistent complaint in every space that I go, that people have this fear of public speaking. And my gut and my commitment is to disrupt that. So I see that Anna's from San Francisco, you're a compliance analyst, and you have many friends with show-tune-itis. I love that. We'll have to connect about that afterwards. And Pat is in Montreal, coaching. You want to improve your business in every area. Fantastic. Welcome. It's so great to have you here. Thank you for writing in. So today, like what I'm really interested in is very practical information. So my goal is to give you 3 very specific tools on how to understand your body when it shows up to the event of public speaking, and also 3 very specific mental hacks on how to show up powerfully when you speak. And then I'm also looking to have a conversation about a whole new different paradigm with which to look at the event of speaking. So hi, Aaron. You're an aspiring YouTuber actor. You live in San Francisco. You're interested in learning what we have to say. And Eileen from New Jersey. You're a handbag designer, and you're afraid of public speaking. I totally get you. I just love the diversity of this group. We have some people from San Francisco. We have some people from the East Coast. We have some Quebecois. I'm Cuban-American, so my family fled Spain because of Franco and Cuba because of Castro. So it's the 20th century, fascism, communism, and they came to the US in the early 1960s. And I say that because Spanish is actually my first language, and it's very important for me to be both bilingual and bicultural. So anyway, new topic. So when we're talking about this incident of speaking and public speaking, I want you to think about your most embarrassing public speaking moment. Okay? And as you're thinking about your most embarrassing public speaking moment, maybe just write a couple words about what that experience was like or what the feeling was like, maybe when it was for you, if you can remember that moment. It's something that we, again, I think across the board as human beings, we share. And I'll share a little bit about mine. So it was second grade. It was Mrs. Fox's class at Pinewood Acres Elementary School in Miami, Florida. And it was show and tell. And for those of you who may not know, show and tell is an opportunity when elementary school students will bring in some object and then they stand in front of their class and then they share about it. So it's your early public speaking experience. And I was in second grade, and I had this little pet gray, well, it's not really a pet because it was a stuffed animal, but a stuffed animal gray seal that I brought in to the class, and I was so excited to share about it, and I practiced my speech. And I stood in front of the class, and I looked at everyone, and I said, seals are mammals. They live in the water, they eat fish, and sometimes they're eaten by sharks. And then I was like, yes, done. And then I started walking back to my seat, and then I thought, wait a second, there's something else that I want to share. So against my my better instincts, I walked back to the front of the class, and I stood up in front of everybody, and then I said, and I named him after someone in this class. And the moment that I said that, like, the attention shifted in the room. So before, nobody was interested, and now all of a sudden, people were interested. And I looked at my classmates and I said, I named him after Brett MacGyver. Now, the name of the seal was not Brett MacGyver. The name of the seal was Sammy the Seal, because that's clearly what you call seals. But basically what I did in 1982, when I was in second grade, is I outed myself. And I named the name of someone who I had a crush on. And the moment I said that, I just felt the need to want to pull the words back, but I'd already said them and there was nothing I could do about it. And the whole temperature in the room shifted. And what I told myself in that moment is that when I stand up in front of an audience to speak, I cannot speak the truth, I cannot be myself, and it's dangerous. So that was in second grade. So like Pat just said, in seventh grade you had to do a speech. You tried to memorize it the night before, so when you forgot the memorized script, you immediately saw a squirrel in a tree outside the window, and you said, oh, a squirrel, and everybody laughed. That was a great deflection, Pat. That's fantastic. I love that. I wish there was a squirrel when I was in second grade. It would have deflected the energy from my conversation. But in that moment, when I told myself that, like, I made a decision about my speaking and who I was in front of a group of people. And it's something that showed up for the rest of my life. You know, I'm no longer clearly in second grade. You know, I'm proudly 40 years old. And I would say that every time that I speak in front of an audience, a part of that emotion or a part of that fear or that trigger continues to show up in front of me. Now, FDR has a very famous quote, which is, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And we look at that and we think that that's a period, and the thought actually continues. And what he says is, I'm going to do the whole thing. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance. And for me, the word that really resonates in that phrase is the word nameless. Because we have an experience, but we don't necessarily know how to distinguish it or name it. Sometimes I have a sound for that feeling, which is like right before when someone asks a question and there's that silence because nobody wants to raise their hand, or the moment right before you are getting ready to present or speak, there's like this knot in the stomach. The sound that I have for it is, you know, it's like this like deep, paralyzing, chest-filled tension. So if I don't name that, all I have is this anxiety or this feeling. But the moment that I'm able to name it, then I'm able to do something with it. And what we're going to name that right now is we're going to name it fear. And what we're going to be on the hunt for this session is to learn how to identify it and then disrupt it. So we're going to be moving around a little bit. I know I'm not going to be able to see you, but I am channeling and I am connected to and projecting that all of you are going to be engaged and you're going to be physical and you're going to be participating. I'm going to be moving on this side. You should have 3 sheets in front of you. One of them, or 2 sheets, one of them is a physical and vocal warm-up. So that is my gift for you, which is an opportunity to have some type of physical or vocal warm-up to assist you the next time you speak, so you're not speaking cold. And then the other is a sheet called the IOR paradigm, which we're going to work on towards the end as an opportunity to shift the frame around public speaking. So Eileen, you just wrote, I haven't had many opportunities for public speaking, but the few times anxiety overwhelms you, you say everything as fast as possible to get it over. However, you don't mind participating as long as you're not in front of everyone. Okay, I totally got it, Eileen. Yeah, so this is going to be really useful for you, and I want you to continue to be on the search and on the hunt for how these specific exercises are going to make a difference for you. And I'm going to make sure at the end to leave a little pocket of time to take your questions, okay? So again, we're going to be a little bit on our feet. We're going to be moving around. I'm going to be asking your questions and, you know, write furiously to participate. And again, I acknowledge you in advance for being all in and for playing full out in the time that we have together. And the thing about public speaking, again, is that it really is a practice. So it's not like a scholarly conversation, but we're not going to really get to know it or practice unless we practice it. So it really is a practice. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to talk about the most important thing when it comes to speaking. It's the first thing that we forget to do when we speak. So I'm going to ask that as a question for you, and maybe someone can write in the message here. What do you think is the most important and integral thing to us when we're speaking, and the thing we forget immediately once we start speaking? So I'm going to do the little Jeopardy theme song while we're waiting here, and if not, I'll respond. Da 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 ba da 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 bum ba da 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 ba da 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 bum 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 ba dum bum 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 bum. Okay, awesome. So we have some offers here. So Aaron wrote body language. Eileen said interact with the audience. So those are all wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guesses. And the one thing that people forget to do in the event of speaking, and the most fundamental and basic part of public speaking, is to breathe. Ah, there we go. Eileen, you got it right as I said it. You wrote down breathe. Yes, our breath. It's the first thing that goes out. So what I want you to imagine or think about is when you breathe, where do you inhale to? Where do you take your breath to? And the first thing that most people do is they breathe into their chest. So they're actually really shallow breathers. So some of you have already written that when you speak there, you like lose track of your thought. The mind starts racing. You start speaking as fast as you can. Some people get cotton mouth, so their mouth gets very dry. The hands get very sweaty. So there's an experience of literal survival, right? So one thing that we want to do in order to deepen our breath is not imagine that we're breathing into our chest, but instead breathing somewhere else. I'm going to stand up, and I'm going to invite you to stand up as well, wherever you are. This is my office with my fearless wall. Everything is orange and on brand. So I'm going to stand up, and like I said before, most people when they breathe will breathe into their chest, right? And my invitation to you when you breathe is to imagine that you're breathing a little bit lower, right? You've probably heard about breathing into your diaphragm. And so that's about the belly button, right below the belly button. And my singing teacher in grad school had an amazing word for this part of your body, and she called it the Zorch. Okay, so for the purpose of this workshop, we're going to call it the Zorch. From here on out, we're going to call it the Zorch. People are typing, and my glasses aren't on, so I can't see. Oh, great. So Anastasia just wrote. Okay, cool. So, so this way I can follow with what you're writing. So we're going to inhale into our Zorch. So what I want you to do is I want you to inhale, and then I want you to exhale on a shh sound. Okay. So shh, again, is going to give you an opportunity to connect to the Zorch. Okay. So you're going to inhale. And if you weren't standing up when you do that, I'm going to invite you to stand up again. Again, I'm not going to know if you're standing or not. But I'm going to invite you again to stand. And I'm going to invite you again to take a deep breath and again inhale and then exhale on a sh sound, okay? So inhale. So for those of you who are participating in the breathing exercise, my question for you is when you were standing, were your knees locked? Now, the vast majority of people, so if your knees were locked, I do invite you to write yes. So Anastasia is right, yes, until you said that. Awesome. So Anastasia and Aaron, awesome that you're noticing that. Thank you guys again for participating. The first thing that we do when we stand up is we lock our knees. Now, has anyone ever served in the military? Or does anyone know what they tell you not? They tell you to not lock your knees. And the reason why is if you lock your knees and you're standing at attention, Eileen, you pass out. So what happens when we stand up to speak is we lock our knees. And we do it thinking that we're establishing a sense of control. But actually what that's doing is making our breath very shallow, and it's causing us to hyperventilate, which is why we're having an experience of shallow breathing. Our mind is racing. We start breathing really fast. Our hands start getting sweaty, right? Because we're literally surviving the experience because we need more oxygen. So the first thing that you want to do before you speak, right, to show up powerful is to really increase your capacity for breath and air and to relax by creating a deeper breath, okay? So that is hack number 1. Okay, so Sherry, your husband told you that he was in the military. Yeah, totally. They tell you just, when you're standing at attention, don't lock your knees. And it's the first thing that we do inherently as human beings. I always know that my knees are locked because I start moving my toes back and forth. Right? One thing that you'll also notice is people will start rocking back and forth. That's also a very clear indication that one of your knees are locked. So what you want to do is, again, lock the knees and then just unlock them, and then you get a feeling of movement. Right? You would never walk with your knees locked. Right? You would never run with your knees locked. Don't speak with your knees locked. That also does not mean speak like this and walk around like Groucho Marx. That is very strange. So again, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remember to unlock the knees, which is going to allow for a much deeper breath, okay? So once we do that, right, then all of a sudden there's some movement and some space. I also like to then start moving the body connected to the breath. So I like to move my shoulders back. And again, sh sound is useful, and also a s sound. And as you do that, notice that the energy of sh and s is forward. Okay, so it's not like internal, but again, there's an energy that's forward with the breath. Okay, so we're going to do that, moving our shoulders back on a s sound, and our shoulders forward for a count of 8, also on a s sound. Okay, so here we go. And forward for a count of 8. And then we're going to move our head for a count of 8 to the right, and our head to the left for a count of 8. Also on a s sound. So inhale. And then to the left for a count of 8. Awesome. So now as you're starting to warm up and you're starting to breathe a lot deeper, you may start yawning. And now that I said yawning, you may just go like, I may just have caused all of you to yawn. It's perfectly fine to yawn. The reason why we yawn is because our body is craving more oxygen. So notice that by the time towards the end of the day, especially like now, it's 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, right? I'm a little oxygen depleted. I've been walking around hyperventilating myself for most of the day. So this is a great opportunity to get grounded and connect again to the breath, okay? So now another really great tool is this, which helps to relax by focusing the energy on your lips. And you're gonna blow out your lips and you're gonna do it like this. Okay, so I'd like you all to try that. And if you can't do that, you have lip tension. Dear diary, I learned today in the Silver Lining Workshop that I have lip tension. That is nothing to be fully fetal about, nothing to get upset about, but a lot of people do carry lip tension. So it's something that we want to start warming up. And one thing that I like to do is move my body around like that. So moving out, oh, awesome. So Charlene has lip tension. Awesome. Wait, you found out about that. Yay. Amazing. We honor you. We honor you for having your lip tension, and we honor you for acknowledging it. So what we're going to do is we're going to shake our body out as we blow out our lips. And I'm Cuban, and I love to shimmy, right? So after we shimmy, we say, azúcar. Okay, so wherever you are, right, I want you to shimmy it out, blow out your lips, and then say azúcar. So say azúcar with me. 1, 2, 3. Azúcar. So I'm going to imagine that you all just said that. Awesome. So Raul just wrote azúcar. He's Dominican, so we've been talking about azúcar this entire time. And azúcar means sugar in Spanish. So it's a celebration. It's when we're singing, we're dancing. We get that out. So the next thing that I want you to think about is when you speak. Now, this is a little bit of a trick question. When you speak, where is your voice? Okay, so I want you to think, I want you to meditate on that. And even if you think it's a silly answer or whatever, I invite you to write in the message where you think your voice is when you speak. Okay? So I'm going to do the little Jeopardy theme again. Do 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 boom ba na 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 ba na ba na 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 bum ba dum bum 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 bum. Okay, well nobody responded, so I'm going to answer the question. So many people have an occurring that their voice is here or their voice is here. It comes from your head if you don't warm up to use your body. Anna, awesome. Anastasia, really, really great. The back of the throat is what Eileen wrote. Awesome, really, really great. So many of us have an occurring that our speaking is here, or our speaking is here, or our speaking is here. And the origin of it may be there, but when we speak, your voice is completely and totally outside of you. So I don't have a mic, but I have a marker, so I'm going to marker drop. Okay, so the voice is not inside of you at all. Your voice is completely and totally outside of you. The whole point of your language is to communicate to a community. It's the same root, communion with people, right? So the whole point of your speaking is that it's outside of you. And we have an occurring that our speaking is for us. And it's not for us. Our speaking is to be shared. So for those of you who have issues being heard, who have a hard time being heard, I would guarantee that for a lot of you, you have an experience of your speaking or your voice being here or here or here, but not outside of you. So what we want to do is like create some opportunity or some exercise that's going to get us connected to sound outside of us. And my favorite tool for that is a very simple exercise. You're going to make an sound. So which is going to be in your lips and your teeth. And we're going to go, ma, is what it is. Okay, and notice a ma is like a ping pong ball. So it's getting the sound and then throwing it forward, or like a ricochet, right? And it's a really great tool when you're in any type of conference room setting. Now, don't do this before you start speaking. I mean, maybe when I do my big events, I have my speakers say ma to the audience, and then the entire audience says ma back to them. So it's an opportunity to create a sense of communion and community. But the ma is a really great tool to see how much energy does it take for me to fill up the space, and how much energy does it take for me to fill the room with my sound, and where are the most resonant spaces in the room. Okay, and again, the focus and the energy of ma is forward. Now also notice that when we were doing our breath exercises at the beginning, when we were doing sh and s and f, these sounds, the energy and the drive of that breath is forward, just like ma. So again, we're starting to create a pattern and cycle of voice and of breath that then to be shared with an audience. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at 3 different places where we carry tension. So the first hack that I told you was about locking the knees, right? So unlock your knees when you're speaking. And the second is this idea that your voice is not inside of you, but your voice is outside of you. So how do we use breath initially to like create a pattern for sound to come out? And then what is the physical manifestation of that sound coming forward with a tool like ma? And now I'm going to sit down, so I invite you to sit down if you're still standing. And we're going to look at three different parts of our bodies where we carry tension. Okay, so the first place that we carry tension is our jaw. Okay, so what we want to do is start drawing attention like we did initially with the lips. So I think it was Charlene who acknowledged that she had lip tension. Thank you, Charlene. What we're going to look at is three places where we carry tension in our body that you wouldn't even necessarily realize that you carry tension. So the first place that we're going to look at is our jaw. What I want you to do is I want you to put your hands on the where the upper jaw and the lower jaw meet, okay? And you're gonna know you hit the spot because it hurts, okay? I do this multiple times a day and it still hurts. So you're gonna know that you hit the spot. When you find the spot, feel free to write in, I found it, I got it, eureka, you know, I found the spot. It's right there when where your upper jaw and your lower jaw meet, and we're gonna shake it out on breath first. And then I like to get the side of my hands to really dig in. And again, okay, great. And then now what we do, because we've started with breath, we're going to start adding sound, okay? And that looks like this. Awesome. So now, once we do that, we're going to look at another part where we carry tension when we speak, and that's going to be our tongue. Okay, so yes, our tongue is here, obviously, but we also have the base of our tongue, and the tongue goes all the way deep down into our throat. So it's not just this part that we see. And there's this part of your tongue, now this may feel a little strange as you're doing it, but like the first time that I did it, I was like, oh my God, I had no idea that was there. But we're going to look at the base of the tongue, which is in this fleshy part between where the lower jaw is. Okay, so again, I'm going to invite you to, feel around there and give yourself a little bit of a massage, and you're going to find knots that are going to be like, as you dig in deep along the side, the edge of the jaw in this little fleshy part in the base of the tongue, you're going to find some knots there, and it may feel a little strange, but what we want to do is we want to massage that very carefully. And again, if you found something that you've never discovered before, a place of tension that you're like, oh my God, I had no idea that was there, feel free again to write eureka, jaw tension, lip tension, tongue tension. Oh my God, I had no idea. So again, we're going to be breathing into there. Oh my gosh, so Anastasia wrote a jaw crackle, your jaw crackle, definite tension. Awesome, really, really great. So again, this is all super practical. I mean, we tend to speak cold. You would never run in the morning without stretching. You would never do a workout without stretching. So you really want to start getting into the habit of warming up and drawing attention and giving energy to parts of your body that are going to support you in speaking powerfully. So again, the base of the tongue. And then shake out your tongue. I bet that's never happened before to Silver Lining SLAP School. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go down our larynx. And we're going to be really careful because clearly there are lots of major arteries and veins in our throat. So we want to be really gentle and massage the side of our throat. Again, on breath. And then really gently, you're going to shake out the larynx. And again, the focus of the sound with the jaw, with the tongue, and with the larynx is all forward, right? We don't want to be in our throat when we're stretching ourselves out. So not ha, so not down in our throat, but again, forward and out. As we do that, okay? So that's our jaw, our tongue, and our larynx, which are three parts, again, of your body that you may have never even thought to warm up or give attention to or give a little bit of love to before you speak. So I also have now a little bonus extra. So as I'm about to share the little bonus extra treat here. My invitation is for you to maybe write down in the message area one takeaway that you got out of this conversation about your body and your body as it participates in the event of speaking. If there's something you're like, oh wow, I never thought about it in this way, or this is something new that I'm going to take going forward when I speak. A practical tip, a useful tool to serve me going forward. So I want you to reflect on that, and feel free to type that in the message center. And we're going to do that as I'm also now sharing about the little bonus opportunity here. So I just looked at my clock and it's 3:33. So Merde, break a leg, good luck to everyone. That's a beautiful omen. So for those of us who are on Eastern Standard Time. So the next little tip that I'm going to share with you is it's an evolution of the ma. So Aaron wrote, never realized all the different places you hold tension, like the tongue and the neck, for yourself. Awesome, really great. It's like really drawing attention to your body, because again, speaking isn't just an intellectual exercise. It's a physical, it's a spiritual, it's an emotional exercise as well. For Charlene, that your voice is outside. Awesome. Fantastic. I hope that really serves you when you think of like your voice as something to share, with the world, to not hide, to like really give it as a gift. So Eileen, the jaw exercise, setting your body's tension. What about neck tension? Totally there. I think a lot of us do realize that we carry neck tension, and there's something specific about thinking it about the larynx specifically, not just the tendons and the muscles of our neck. So I think we are present to that as a source of tension, and I think thinking of the larynx specifically as something distinct is a useful addition to any type of stretching. And Anastasia also said the jaw and the tongue, which is awesome. Okay, so now to my special guest. I love all your contribution. It's fantastic. And the little bonus gift. Aren't you excited about that? I mean, I can barely contain myself. It feels like Christmas, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa all at the same time. So I want you to repeat after me. And it is ha-ha-ma, ma-ma-ma. Okay, so we're going to do that again. Ha-ha-ma, ma-ma-ma. So now the reason why we do that is, what do you think is the most important word in a sentence for an audience to hear? So I'm going to ask that again. What do you think is the most important word for an audience to hear when you're speaking out loud, when you're speaking in a sentence? I know the structure of that was grammatically off, but I think you get the gist of it. I'm going to do a little Jeopardy theme song here. Da 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 da, ba da 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 da, ba da 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 ba da 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 da, bum ba bum cha cha cha. Again, honoring my Cuban people. So Eileen, thank you for participating. You're fantastic, Eileen. I love how much you're contributing and participating here. It's fantastic. So Eileen wrote the verb. Awesome for effort. And yes, when you are speaking, it is really important to hear the verb. I think that's an operative word within which to speak. The most important word for us to hear when you're speaking is the last one. The last word. And notice that a lot of us, when we start speaking, we're going to start speaking with lots of energy, and then we trail off and there's no energy in the end. And then we're going to give you some voice and power, and then we're going to trail off because I don't have any oxygen or air to to the end. So the most important word when you speak is the last one, because it completes the thought. So ha-ha-ma, ma is a really great tool to get us equipped with how much energy it takes for us to sustain a thought through the end with enough air and breath to land the last word. How many times have you been in a place listening to someone and you just feel like, I have no idea where they're going with that, and you're almost leaning in to hear the last part of it? It's a big thing in the US for the Americans. So again, ha-ha-ma, ma is a great tool to, again, give us that sense and that training to get how much energy it takes us to drive the thought to the end of the line. Okay, so that is my my last little bonus vocal hack. Yay! And yes, you can all applaud, and I'm imagining that all of you are applauding from everywhere that you are, listening and participating. So now we're going to move and change the conversation and talk about the mind and how the mind shows up to the event of speaking. So thank you, Sherry, for your applause. I love it. I love the little emojis. So what we're going to look at now is the mindset of public speaking. So what I want you to think about is, this is like we're going to bring in some truth. We're going to drop the marker again here, Fearless Orange on brand. What I want us to think about is how many of you would identify as perfectionists? And if you're perfectionist, I don't know if you can raise your hand or if you can write, I am, I totally am, 100%. You know, I acknowledge myself as being, so Eileen is definitely a perfectionist. Erin is guilty. Awesome. If this is turning into a support group for perfectionists. Pat is a reformed perfectionist. Charlene, Raul is a perfectionist. Yeah, all of us. Look, welcome. Look at where we find ourselves in entrepreneurship, you know, and at the SLAP school. Sherry says, pray for me. We will be praying for you. This is actually perfect. So, guess what? It's never going to be perfect. That's mind hack number one. It's never going to be perfect. So get over it. And perfection is a false goal. And I'll share with you, you know, I come from my family background. I said before I was Cuban, and I love that Sherry wrote, pray for me. So my background is Catholic. So I was raised Roman Catholic. And I consider myself very much a secular humanist, and I'm a practitioner of all faiths and traditions. And one of the things that I have carried on in my Catholicism for my youth is this beautiful idea that we have in Catholicism called absolution, where you can be absolved of all your sins. No matter what happened, you did, do 3 Hail Marys, and then you're done. You're forgiven. On to the next thing. So what I started practicing, and as my dear friend, my fellow Dominican Raul shared, I was an actor for over 15 years. And I myself I'm a recovering person who with debilitating stage fright and fear and shame around the event of speaking. And I realized that I had this experience of being completely and totally paralyzed because I was constantly playing this game of trying to be perfect. I have a client who was an internationally ranked rhythmic gymnast. And every time she missed qualifying for the Olympic Games by 1/100th of a point. So every time she's speaking, she's deducting points from herself from a scale from a perfect 10, from some idea of a perfect 10, right? So what I've done is, what I do before I speak is I do several things. One, I absolve myself of perfection. The way that I do it personally is I do the sign of the cross 3 times, right? And then I say, I love you. And it's a fast, you know, little ritual. And then I say, I love you. And I say, I love you twice. I say, I love you for me. And then I also say, I love you to the audience. So what I'm doing is I'm giving myself the space for myself to be present for and comfortable with all of my imperfection, right? Because it is in my imperfection that my perfection is. Because that is where my humanity lies, right? No one wants a machine up there. Nobody wants a robot. What people want is a living, breathing, speaking human being. And the other thing that I'll share with you is that if your energy and your focus is in your head, your energy and attention isn't where it needs to be, which is with your audience. So my first trick, or the mind hack for you, is to create some type of ritual for yourself to absolve yourself of this idea of perfection. So I have some people who pump themselves up. Some people like do push-ups and sit-ups. Some people say, you got this. Some people say, you're awesome. But they have some type of ritual for themselves which connects them to disrupting that perfectionism and just standing in the possibility of just being real and a human being with everything that's perfect and everything that's imperfect. And again, with all of it that is imperfect, it's perfect. So I want you to think about that and maybe meditate for yourself, and maybe on a sheet of paper next to you, or maybe the message, think about or share like one ritual that you may have to, again, disrupt this perfectionism. The second thing that I'm going to tell you to do that I'm going to share with you is something which we call the pre-beat in the theater. So the pre-beat is the moment before you speak. Okay, now in the theater, we talk about the pre-beat is the moment before an actor walks on stage, or the moment before a scene, right? And the pre-beat is the moment before you speak. And notice that most speakers, or most times when you're asked to speak, the first thing we do is we false start. So it's on your mark, get set, go! There's no pause. There's no moment of hesitation. There's no moment to gather yourself before you launch off into speaking. Okay? So that's the first thing, that's the next thing I want you to do, is to really focus on that breath, on the pre-beat. Because that pre-beat is going to silence the mind with breath and focus the mind. Okay? So again, we call that the pre-beat. So that's the second thing that I want you to think about. So the first is some type of absolution of perfection, getting rid of that narrative. And number two is to create this pre-beat, the moment before you speak. So you're not rushing, but instead starting from a place of calm and confidence. And many people have a hard time with the silence. They have a hard time with that. So Anastasia wrote, the pre-beat applied to public speaking is great advice. I hadn't thought of that outside of waiting to enter a scene. Totally. It's like that moment before. Like no one sees what you're doing off stage, but what we're really doing is breathing. We're focusing. And then we walk on stage. What's the moment before the speaking? What brings the speaking into life? So within that pause, and I'm going to actually write this down in the panelist attendee, where I'm going to write this word here that I've invented. And it is think, breathe, speak as one word. So think, breathe, speak. So it's not think, then breathe, and then speak, but it's one thing. Think, breathe, speak. So we're talking about think, breathe, speak. Now many people will do this because they're nervous or they're anxious when they're speaking. They'll do this. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you. So I calm myself down and now I'm going to talk. And now I'm going to continue talking to you because I'm continuing to calm myself down. And now I'm going to continue talking to you. But notice that what I'm doing in that is I'm inhaling, I'm exhaling, and then I'm speaking. And that is insanity. It's totally fakakta. It's crazy. Because what you're doing is you're inhaling, you're exhaling, and then you're speaking. So it's like going to the gas station, filling your car with gas, emptying 90% of it, taking off, and then being pissed off that you have to like put gas in again. Because when it is that you are speaking, you are actually exhaling. So now I'm going to ask you another one of these little mic drop questions, which is, what does it mean to inspire? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? I'm going to do a little Jeopardy theme again. Da 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 ba da 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 bum ba da 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 ba da da ba da 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 bum ba dum bum 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 bum. So to inspire, to create an emotional connection, to lift someone up, and Anastasia said to give breath or life to an idea or someone. Absolutely. Inspirar, expirar. To inspire and to expire means to also breathe in and to breathe out, and to give breath to. So in order to inspire, you have to breathe people in. So it's all connected to the breath. Notice that's the first thing we talked about today. The first thing that we forget to do is breathe. And I'm sure that all of you are powerful leaders committed to inspiring people who are listening to you speak. You can't do that without the breath. You can't do that without your breath. What we're inviting you to do is to have a thought, connect the breath to the thought, and then from there speak. So that's the moment, the pre-beat, is in that pause, taking a moment, thinking, what is it that I'm committed to? Breathing into that, inhaling, and then giving voice to that and sharing that as a context. Okay, so that is think, breathe, speak. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick little exercise. So I invite you to take a sheet of paper. So have a blank sheet of paper or a little Post-it note or something you can write on. Okay, we're going to do this quick little exercise. And what I want you to think about is, what is your biggest fear that you think the audience is thinking about you when you speak? What do you think they're thinking? What do you think the audience is already thinking? What is your fear that you think they're thinking? Okay, and I'm going to give you, like, again, a little Jeopardy theme time for you to I invite you to write it down on a sheet of paper, and then I also invite for you to write it into the message as well. And I'm also going to write mine. So I'm reading a little Jeopardy theme. Again, find a little sheet of paper. I'm going to write down whatever it is that we think it is that you imagine. Again, you fear the audience is thinking about you. Okay, so I'm going to try to write and do the Jeopardy theme at the same time. Da 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 ba da 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 ba ba da 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 dum ba dum bum 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 bum. Awesome. So I'm going to share mine first as an invitation, right? And then I invite you to just write in your message, and just take that as a moment just to, honor whatever's there. I do this workshop all over the world. I have this conversation all over the world. I guarantee you there's nothing that you're feeling or thinking that no one has shared before. So this is what I came up to as I was multitasking and I was singing and writing at the same time. I wrote, too much, too gay, and a fool. So Eileen, you wrote, I'm boring, not getting my message to them clearly, so they don't like it. I totally got it, Eileen. I'm totally present to that. Anybody else have anything else that they're imagining their audience is thinking that is a manifestation or reflection of their fear? I'm not an expert. They do not understand me. I totally got it, Charlene. Absolutely. I fear that my audience isn't interested in myself, that I'm ugly, boring, or what am I talking about? For Anastasia, being overbearing. Totally got it. Scary because you can be loud and that you're tall. I totally get it, Anastasia. I totally get it. And it's something with a lot of people who are very tall is they try to diminish their size because they're so noticeable. I'm 5'6", so I'm constantly trying to make myself look bigger. So awesome. I really acknowledge you all for your vulnerability and your honesty and really sharing that. And what I'll share with you again, I do this exercise all over the world, and it's the same experience. We are all on a stage, and our biggest fear about ourselves is manifested, and we think that that's what the audience is thinking about us. And in reality, none of us are mind readers, so we have no idea what they're thinking. And yet, we perpetuate some thought about ourselves that diminishes us into the space. And what I'll offer you is that that's the experience that we're going back to the beginning, that nameless fear. That's it. What you wrote is that tightness in the chest. That's the experience. So the question is, now what do you do with that? Anastasia wrote, I love your sound for that. Feel free to use it at any time. It reminds me of, I think it's Dumb and Dumber, the movie where they have the most annoying sound in the world. I think that's where I stole it from. So my invitation for you, look at this, that I'm too much, that I'm too gay, and that I'm a fool, right? Now, I invite you, is that your experience of me? No, absolutely not. Totally. Well, thank you for sharing that. And get that there was a little bit of risk of me to even offer that, because again, that's my biggest fear. So it's very possible that somebody would be like, absolutely, you are too much, you are too gay, and you are a fool, right? And I am all of that. And I don't have anything about it, right? And yet that fear persists. So my invitation is to grab whatever it is that you have about that and do this. Eileen just wrote, you are genuine. That's what I like. Awesome. Thank you for that. The term authenticity is what I love, right? So now in that space, I hope you've torn up your little sheet of paper. You can have a little, confetti parade, and like all of a sudden there's some space and some room. So now we're going to talk about this IOR paradigm, because my invitation is for you now to think about, in the face of that, if we put that aside, if we take that away, who do you get to be? Who do you get to create yourself to be? Awesome, Anastasia, myself. Now, how would you describe, like, what are some adjectives, what are some words that you would use to describe yourself? Like, who do you get to be that's specific in front of an audience? And Anastasia, thank you for playing ball over here and typing myself. So what are the qualities of yourself that you would get to be? Funny, intelligent, real, awesome. So who I get to be for my audience is funny. Who I get to be is real. I get to be authentic. I get to be intelligent. Awesome. You can be powerful. You can be loving. You can be compassionate. You can be generous. So Anastasia wrote, or Aaron wrote funny, intelligent, and real. Anastasia wrote knowledgeable, compassionate. Aaron also wrote relatable. Awesome. These were all really great. Eileen, talented, articulate, expressive. So good. So like I invite you, as you fill that out for yourself, to be focused on who I get to be for my audience is that talented, articulate, and expressive. I get to be confident, powerful, and joyous. I get to be inspiring and loving and genuine. I get to be a champion. I get to be open. I get to be free. I get to be playful. I get to be funny, right? So I invite you to look, and some of you are already adding. For those of you who haven't added, I invite you to find a word or two or something that would connect you to a way of being that, frankly, honestly, you don't have to try. It's just authentically who you are. All you have to do is breathe into it, and it's present because you choose it. Okay? So now that's the intention. That's the I part. So now for the O part, what I want you to think about is, so that's the outcome, which is, what is the outcome? What experience does the audience have, or what experience does your listener have because you're knowledgeable or compassionate, Anastasia? Or Aaron, if you're funny, intelligent, and real, what experience does your audience have? Or Eileen, if you're talented, articulate, and expressive, what experience does your audience have of you? Okay, so take a moment and write down, what do you think your audience experiences when you get to be what you wrote? They learn something new, they can feel comfortable. Awesome, so they learn something. They're comfortable. Awesome. They hear you, they become empowered. So for Charlene, maybe they're listening. So when I get to be, who else? They can experience a friend, someone who's rooting for them. Great. So they have an experience of having a champion, of friendship, of warmth, of connection, right? All of that's so powerful, so useful, really great. And then the last part of it is the result, right? And the result is like, what do they get to, what's the result of the conversation? So if this is for your business, maybe it's a sales conversation. Maybe you get a client. Maybe you get invited to speak at another venue. Maybe you win an award. Like there's some type of measurable result that happens at the end that I want you to think about as you're creating this as a context for yourself. Something that you can use for yourself as a practical tool. Intention, outcome, and result. And notice that if you reverse it, you get ROI. So if you use the IOR, the intention, outcome, result model, there's a return on your investment. Now notice that it's not return on investment yields intention, outcome, result. Because the focus here is not on the result, the focus is instead on the intention. The focus is on who you get to be in the conversation. And what I will offer you is if who you are leading from is a place of being talented, articulate, expressive, funny, intelligent, real, knowledgeable, relatable, and compassionate, that is a victory. It is a victory over the past. It is a victory over fear. And there's this very famous poem, Death Be Not Proud, Though Some Have Called Thee Mighty and Dreadful, For Thou Art Not So, by John Donne. This is the English major / Shakespearean actor in me that's quoting a little bit of British poetry. But I like to think of the term, fear be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. Now the word fearless, I thought forever meant without fear. But the word is not fear done. The word is not fear gone. The word is not fear without. The word is fear less. So it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere at all. It's one of our 4 main emotions that we have as human beings. We have joy, sadness, anger, and fear. That's it. And fear can be really useful when it's rational, like I'm going to die, or like my safety is guarded and protected. But is not useful, is not helpful in moments of irrational fear, like when you just have to speak in front of an audience about something you're really committed to. So this model helps us to disrupt this conversation that has us instead focusing on our fear as opposed to focusing on our commitment and who we get to be as people of service with our message to an audience. An audience that is yearning for and hungry for and listening for a message that we have that can transform their lives. And in that moment, like that poem, Death Be Not Proud, he says, death thou shalt die. And in the moment that you stand in this IOR paradigm, if for a moment fear disappears, fear dies, and what you're present to is power, authenticity, and yourself. The true essence is yourself, of yourself, as a human being in generous communication. So thank you so much for participating in our workshop. I see that there's some signs. We're at 3:59. I know we started a little bit late, so I can stay for a couple minutes if you have any further questions. I know Anastasia rose her hand, so I'm going to acknowledge that. I'm also going to share with you that as a free gift for all of you, we're going to send this in an email. I have a 3-part mini-series. I love it. It's called a mini-series called Downton Abbey. No, it's not called Downton Abbey. And it is called Courageous Storytelling. So it's my free gift to all of you for participating in this. Again, it's a 3-part workshop, mini-series, video series. Each video is like 10 minutes long. And again, it's all about how to create and share courageously. Just so you also know, there are a couple other of these silver lining workshops that I'm going to be holding in the next couple of weeks. So anyway, so I'll take a couple minutes to answer a couple of questions. Again, thank you so much for participating. Thank you, Anastasia, for saying that was fantastic. Thank you for your attendance and your participation. I acknowledge all of you, again, for your engagement, for your participation. I love the feedback as we were, it really felt like we were in space together. And Aaron, thank you so much for attending. Really happy that you attended as well. Again, if there are any questions, feel free to ask them. And if not, feel free to email me. You can email me at Eduardo, EDUARDO, at fearlesscommunicators.com. Again, that is Eduardo, EDUARDO, at fearlesscommunicators.com. So thank you, Anastasia, again, for writing. You really enjoyed everyone sharing their intentions. It was very helpful. Awesome. Thank you again for your participation. It was great to have you sharing as well. You're not too tall. You're just perfect. And with that, if there are no questions, I'm going to say, Raul, take us away. So Eileen, thank you for writing that you love the webinar, such great info. Awesome. Thank you so much, Eileen.
And thank you very much. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you very much to Eduardo. That was an amazing webinar. I myself have a lot of fear on public speaking, so I got a lot of insight from this webinar myself, which was amazing, especially the part of ending each sentence on a high note. That happens to me a lot when talking and just going away. So I'm glad everyone attended. Just remember that next week, we're going to have Eduardo again with us. That's going to be on the 25th. And it's going to be the same time at 3 p.m. You're all going to receive an email just the day before and at the same day, so you can be reminded of that. And again, thank you everyone for attending. You'll receive this webinar recording tomorrow in an email, so be on the lookout for that. And I hope everybody enjoyed SLAPschool. We'll meet again next Wednesday at 3 p.m.
And we'll slap that at SLAPschool. Awesome. Bye, everyone. Thank you.